as we see him throughout his journey in Ninja Gaiden 2, he is kind of using that knowledge and applying that to every situation that he's running into. You can kind of see that progression as he grows up.
I have a big crush on Ryu. He is a super stud as well as a super ninja. He's powerful, he's strong and silent, he's got, those massive biceps, and he can, kill anything in his path.
He is somewhat of an iconic character, this mysterious, very charismatic character in many ways.
We wanted to portray Ryo Hayabusa as being the kind of ninja that comes along once in many generations. I realized back when making Ninja Gaiden 1 that we had to go all the way back and think about what are ninjas themselves. What makes a ninja who he is.
The ninja of Japan had several famous qualities. One was enduring patience. In fact, the nin of ninja, when you write it, that's what it translates as, enduring patience. It means I've got my eye on the big goal, the big battle, and I'm not tempted to get involved in little small battles along the way. Skills like moving across water, up a castle wall in a shadow, this was of great necessity to the ninja because the ninja was an intelligence gatherer. They needed to go secretly into areas where they could find out what was going on.
Their entire existence depended on every individual member, willing to sacrifice their lives for the sake of the greater good. That was a core concept that I knew we needed to express first before we could delve into his character even deeper.
Every day was the potential for extreme violence. And so to live with that every day, knowing this may be my last day, this may be the last day my family lives, took an enormous amount of strength.
To be balanced physically and mentally, it's very important. Otherwise, you're going to be like one-sided kind of person. So to find a balance in between becomes very important.
The way of the ninja required one to balance mind and body. Break down the Japanese ideogram for nin. You'll find heart and blade. You can inspire the heart, but also require a blade.
It's okay for a game to be slightly unbalanced, but it has to have an overall sense of beauty to it.
It's obvious when you look at Itagaki-san's games that he wants them to look good in service to the gameplay, to show the intensity of the violence.
The beauty is definitely important because we need that to contrast with the violence because we're trying to create an overall image. There was a book many years back about Japanese philosophy called Chrysanthemum and the Sword. And chrysanthemum is a symbol of beauty, and the sword is a symbol of fighting and winning. We really try to bring those elements together so that you have the beautiful backdrops, but then you have the violence and you have the fighting that's going on in front of it.
I strive to include things that everybody can find beautiful. The flower, bird, the wind, the moon. These are the things that are universal, that everybody finds beautiful.
Kachou fugetsu. Ka is flower, cho is bird, hu is the wind, and getsu is the moon. And those are the elements that they really used in Japanese art.
There are a lot of beautiful types of flowers. I think that some of the ones we like are, of course, the cherry blossoms because of how beautiful they are, but also how fragile. I think if you go back and look at all of our games, you see that they all include cherry blossoms at one point or another. I'm from the countryside, mountains and rivers and things like that, so I really like the beauty of the landscapes. So I may go to a river, and I'll notice like a stand of weeds or some plants by the side of the river, and I'll get down with my camera and get down into a low pose and take a shot with the light coming from the other side. I'll go back and I look at how the light behaves and how it shines, and I'll say, is it possible to recreate that effect? I think it's important not only to try to mimic reality, but also try to understand what makes that environment beautiful.
People who play a game developed by Itagaki-san, they're looking for a high difficulty level, but they're also looking for this almost irreverent cultural tone.
You don't have too many games that are set in modern times with a kind of hero. So it's kind of a different perspective because the settings are modern day, but his abilities are still rooted in the past, in the ninja tradition.
I think every Japanese feels the respect towards that ninja culture, and that's something that is always present. The influence is huge. It's in my DNA.
To go to the birthplace of the ninja, one must travel outside of Kyoto to the mountains of Iga.
The mountains of Iga are not tall, high mountains. They're old mountains. There was a young warrior who came from the village of Togakure, and he ended up in Iga. He encountered these teachers in the mountains.
There were lots of people living in that area. They came from China, really. They developed their own fighting style.
And this is how the Togakure lineage of the ninja began. The samurai families were the noble aristocrats who ran the country. The ninja tried to gain political control that would allow them to be leaders of their own destiny.
The definition of winning was different for a warlord or samurai than it was for a ninja. And I think examining how the ninja lived and how they prepare for that fate is what kind of interests me.
Their approach to war was very different because the ninja didn't have the money, they didn't have the people to mount a similar army, so they needed a different way of winning. And that created what we know of as the art of the ninja.
The ninja of feudal Japan have faded into history, but the teachings of ninjutsu live on, passed down through generations.
We're in the Hombu Dojo. This is where it originates from in the ninjutsu world. This is Hatsumi Sensei's dojo.
Masaaki Hatsumi was my ninja teacher. I moved to Japan in the 1970s to study with him.
Okay, in one fashion.
And he's the 34th head of this Togakure lineage.